At the beginning of the 20th century, cinema was a luxury available only to the wealthiest. However, by the 1920s, the idea of home cinema was already being discussed among the elite. The industry offered wealthy enthusiasts 16mm film projectors and accompanying projection screens for installation in their mansions. As a rule, in those years, such home cinema sets were offered by Kodak and Filmo. In those early stages, home theaters were silent. Sound began to appear in films in the 1930s. Although the industry had already established itself over the previous 10 years, home projectors were still very expensive and bulky. And when it came to sound systems, only the truly rich could afford them. After World War II, the idea of home cinema became slightly more accessible and, so to speak, more simple. 8mm cinema systems with reduced requirements for screen fabrics entered the market. In addition, the first full-fledged televisions began to appear in homes. In general, the first so-called mechanical televisions appeared back in the 1920s. These were early inventions such as the system developed by Scotsman John Baird, which used a mechanism to scan and reproduce images. As a rule, this involved the use of a Nipkow disc, invented in 1884 by Paul Nipkow, a German engineer. However, after the war, electronic televisions began to appear in developed countries. Engineer Vladimir Zworykin had a significant influence on the formation of the electronic home television industry. In the early 1930s, this inventor, who was then working for the American company RCA, invented the iconoscope, the first electronic television tube with charge accumulation. This later became the basis for home televisions in the post-war period. Of course, televisions were still not accessible to everyone. For example, in the United States in 1946, only 5 out of 100 families had televisions. But this was already a much higher figure than the pre-war home cinemas for the privileged few. Moreover, by the end of the 1950s, 77% of the US population already had televisions. Television sets improved rapidly throughout the 1930s and 1950s. In 1933, the company Loewe released the world's first television set with a dynamic loudspeaker, providing very high-quality sound for those years. By the 1950s, NTSC color television had appeared in the United States, with 40,000 color receivers sold in 1953. During the same period, the first remote controls were invented, which later became an integral part of home entertainment systems. The first remote controls were wired and manufactured by Zenith. But in 1955, the Flashmatic wireless remote control with a light detector was introduced. This significant invention was created by engineer Eugene Polly at the request of Zenith Electronics. Strange as it may sound, it was with the advent of remote controls that televisions began to become the center of family gatherings, bringing audiences together in front of the screen. In the 1960s, television became widely accessible entertainment. The transition to color television was a technological breakthrough. Although, as mentioned earlier, color broadcasts had been available in the United States since the mid-1950s. But if we take into account not only the United States, but also Europe and other countries, including the USSR, for example, then color television was still a breakthrough of the 1960s. Televisions of those years were still bulky, with narrow screens, but with each passing year, the models became more and more advanced. During the heyday of color television, projectors were not forgotten, although demand for them was low. The main problem with watching films on a projector was the high cost of the equipment. In addition, projection systems were not very user-friendly. A real revolution took place in the mid-1970s. Instead of projectors, film enthusiasts were offered video recorders and cassettes. A completely new stage in the development of home video systems began. In 1975, Sony introduced its Betamax format, but in 1976, Japan's JVC released the VHS, Video Home System, format, which quickly captured the market. The first mass-produced VHS video recorder was the JVC HR3300. The war between VHS and Betamax was long, but as we all know, VHS emerged victorious. Betamax offered better quality, tilt-line recording technology, but could only hold 1 hour of video, while VHS could hold up to 2 hours or more. 1 year after the introduction of VHS, Betamax cassettes lost 40% of the market, and within a decade, VHS's share reached almost 90%. Sony admitted defeat and almost stopped producing Betamax. As a result, VHS became the global standard for home video. Realizing the impending changes, electronics manufacturers began producing video recorders one after another. Large companies managed to produce players not only under their own brands, but also to sell licenses for their products to other firms and even countries. For example, the Panasonic NV2000 video recorder became the basis for many clone models. One such copy was the Electronica VM12, produced in the USSR. During the heyday of the VHS format, video recorders became a widespread phenomenon in homes. It's worth noting that in the 1980s, VHS players became more than just devices for watching programs and movies on cassettes. Advanced models allowed you to receive and process television signals and connect gaming consoles and video cameras. When talking about that period, it is important to emphasize that the video quality of home video cassette players was significantly superior to the sound quality. The legendary sound from Dolby began to appear in cinemas back in the 1970s. George Lucas's 1976 film Star Wars brought unconditional popularity to the Dolby stereo format. For home systems, this technology only became available in the late 1980s. In 1987, the first Dolby Pro Logic decoders for VHS players and receivers appeared, allowing users to simulate cinema-style surround sound at home in a limited space. In 1993, at the premiere of Jurassic Park, a full-fledged 5.1 surround sound system, with a center channel and subwoofer, made its debut. This system subsequently became the basic standard for home theaters based on various formats. Speaking of formats, it is worth noting that videocassettes were far from being the only media of that era. High-quality enthusiasts will of course remember the premium Laserdisc format, which appeared in the late 1970s. These large optical discs were capable of delivering significantly higher quality picture and sound than VHS. However, Laserdisc did not become mainstream. But this format anticipated the possibilities of high-definition video. In addition to Laserdisc, in the late 1980s, a group of engineers from various large companies began working on a new generation of disc formats. In 1993, Philips and JVC developed a specification for a video storage format with MPEG-1 compression on compact discs and called it Video CD or VCD. In 1995, a version of the Video CD 2.0 standard was developed in collaboration with Sony, Pioneer, and Matsushita. A couple of years later, Super Video CD appeared, which contained MPEG-2 format video and offered higher image quality. However, despite all the efforts of engineers, Video CD never became truly popular. One of the many reasons for its failure was the advent of DVD in 1996. From the outset, this format could hold 2 hours of video and provided twice the clarity of VHS. With the introduction of DVDs, Laserdiscs and VCDs were practically forgotten, but VHS tapes remained popular for several more years. Nevertheless, by the end of the 1990s, DVDs had already become dominant in home cinema systems. During those years, home cinema systems with multi-channel sound began to appear on the market. Often, these systems included DVD players, which were sometimes even combined with music centers such as the Technics SL-DV series. In parallel with the development of DVD, cable and satellite TV grew in popularity, offering a large number of channels and the possibility of watching pay-per-view. But in a number of countries, movies on physical media still remained the basis of mass film viewing culture. At the beginning of the 21st century, high-definition television and flat screens arrived in home entertainment systems. The first affordable HD TVs, plasma, LCD, then LED, with HD-ready and full HD resolutions appeared. Flat screens became another revolution in the history of home cinema. By 2006, the Blu-ray disc format had been released, the next generation of optical discs for HD video. Blu-ray, which allowed users to record several dozen gigabytes of video, surpassed DVD in all respects. For many years, this disc format was the main physical medium for HD content. In 2016, the Ultra HD Blu-ray format appeared, which, as the name suggests, offered even higher image quality. However, this technology did not become mainstream. Expensive physical media attracted only the most enthusiastic enthusiasts, while the general audience almost completely switched to streaming. In the 2000s, in addition to discs, projection systems began to become increasingly popular. Multimedia rooms with ceiling-mounted projectors and wall-mounted screens have reached a new level. Nowadays, technology allows us to create not just a large image of questionable quality, but an entire smart system with an internet-connected video box or receiver with Dolby or DTS sound decoder. A major leap forward occurred in the mid-2010s when Dolby introduced the object-oriented Atmos sound format, and HDR technology appeared in video. These two innovations took home theaters to a new level. Now, with enough space and money, anyone could set up a full-fledged cinema in their own home. And that's no exaggeration. With the advent of new formats, commercial cinema quality sound and picture became possible at home. With the advent of high-speed internet, the world of home cinema has changed radically. Internet streaming has made films and TV series instantly available at any time. Nowadays, streaming has become more than just a pleasant way to watch films at home. Streaming has essentially become the foundation of the industry. In recent years, major film premieres are often released on streaming services simultaneously with their theatrical release. And considering that today's home entertainment systems often surpass cinema theaters, it is reasonable to assume that commercial cinemas will face a serious decline. The latest UHD televisions, laser projectors, and multi-channel sound systems already greatly surpass the cinema theaters of the 2000s. Today, with the right equipment, sound and picture quality are approaching professional levels. Without a doubt, streaming, UHD and network smart technologies are what will be ruling the roost in the next few years. Let's sum up. Home cinema has undergone almost a century of evolution, from dim silent projection systems to ultra-high definition images and professional surround sound. At the same time, the general meaning of home viewing has remained the same, gathering with loved ones in front of the screen to experience a story together. Modern technology has only expanded the possibilities of such traditional evenings. The main thing is that the atmosphere of family viewing, as many years ago, remains at the heart of home cinema, even in our highly technological times. Well, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching until the end. If you liked it, don't forget to like, subscribe and leave a comment, for example, with an idea for what to talk about in the next video. Thank you and until the next episode.